Welcome to Bonnie's Eye and Friends. I'm Bonnie DeShong, and I am so excited to have two very, very special people on with me. We've got Fox and Rob Richardson, who did a fantastic documentary not long ago called Time, Time. And it's the story of Fox being diligent at getting her husband Rob out of prison after 2 decades of being in there. And I have to say, you guys, I think that it was unjust that you were sentenced like that, Rob, for so many years for what was done. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys explain that. Everyone, Fox and Rob Richardson, how are you?
Oh, we are
Doing
so well.
exceptionally
Thank
well.
you so much for having us,
Yes, indeed.
Bonnie.
Yes, indeed. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here with you this morning. And
Well, go ahead, Rob. I didn't mean to cut you off.
just saying that it was indeed an honor and a privilege for us to be here with you this morning. And even though the devil been busy this morning, we've been working it out regardless.
You got that right. You got
Yes,
that right.
yes,
I'm
indeed.
I'm excited because watching the documentary Time shows love, and it showed tenacity, and it showed strength, and it showed because Fox, you raised six boys, while Rob was in prison for over 2 decades. And what made you decide to do the first documentary Time? Because it opens up a lot of intimate, detailed family stuff. So what made you decide to put that out there?
To me, one, just recording our history as Black people in America is so important. If we don't know our history, we are doomed to repeat it. And for us, what our history was is that after 10 years of dating off and on again, being high school sweethearts and having 3 children between us, this man finally got his stuff together and asked me to be his wife. And so I was so excited, Bonnie, that I had finally gotten it right and formed the family that I knew God intended for us to have. And shortly after, so I started filming to document that we had actually done it. We had made a family, right? And so it was beautiful, and I wanted to be able to record it so that our family could have these moments. And 6 months after we married, we would find ourselves in a desperate situation. Just where all of life falls out around you. And after having spent our life savings on a business and our investor pulling out on us,
Like our young people today say, life be life.
yes, life be life. And we found ourselves making a decision that would alter the course of our life and find us facing 297 years in prison, and Rob eventually being sentenced to 60 years, a practical life sentence as a first offender in the state of Louisiana. And so then I became intentional about documenting these moments because I didn't care what the state said. He was not going to miss out on the first days of school. He was not going to miss out on the birthdays. And maybe he couldn't be here, but I could somehow hold on to time until he returned. But then after we had been in the system for over a decade, I was like, this is something really sadistic about how they are throwing away Black life over menial things, in particular in the state of Louisiana. And so then my documentation, it became more of a form of resistance because I felt at that time my family was being called upon to do something greater, Bonnie, to bear witness to what was happening to our people, just as Frederick Douglass, as the days of old, and Booker T. Washington, when he wrote Up from Slavery. This archive that I collected of our family's journey through Louisiana's criminal justice system for over 2 decades was my memoir and give back to document history of what's being done to our people. And so that is what prompted me to start recording. And after we had done about 15 years in prison, Rob says, listen, I don't think we're going to get out of here unless we raise national attention about what is going on with us, because we are talking to every lawmaker. We are talking to this person, this minister, this leader, that leader. But everybody feels sorry for us that we have gotten a 60-year sentence for taking $5,136.63 from the bank. And Bonnie, I know that 63 cents was ours. I know we had some money before we went in that bank. But everybody felt sorry for us, felt compassion, but nobody would help us. Nobody, either they lacked knowledge or would give us empathy, but did nothing to help us change what we were going through. And so Rob, after seeing the 13th, he made the suggestion that we would have to do a documentary so that we could raise national attention about our story. And so I came back to New Orleans, started looking around in this wealth of talent that we have here, and I began that journey. And you know something about our God, when we take one step, God takes two. I know you know, Bonnie.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes, and so in taking that one step, God made two by sending me the very talented artist Garrett Bradley, who was working on an op doc for the New York Times, and so she asked to interview me upon recommendation from other leaders in the social justice movement. So I worked with her on that project, and as we wrapped that project, I was like, "Look, I need you to go back to the New York Times and see if they will fund telling this story that I'm working on, our family story." To which she did, and the New York Times greenlighted our project. Time was supposed to be a 15-minute op doc on the New York Times website with the intention of being able to raise awareness about my family's matter. And again, here comes God. He says, I'm not just going to take you half of the way, I'm going to take you all the way. I'm going to give you the resources you need that's going to come directly from me to liberate your husband. You're going to document it, and at the end of it, not only did his freedom become a part of that documentary, but when we wrapped filming, I gave Garrett Bradley a bag of 25 home videos that I had been shooting over the past 20. It was hundreds of hours of video footage I had been shooting over the past 2 decades. And so with that footage, time went from being a 15-minute op doc on the New York Times website to becoming a full feature film that would go on and win Sundance, win a Peabody Award, and then become Oscar nominated. So I just know that when we do what God has called us to do, then God will pour you out blessings you ain't got room enough to receive.
I'm telling you, because as I was watching it, and it was cute watching you guys young, with the earlier ones, when you were doing that. But also, everyone, I want you to see this film because the dedication that Fox had to calling these people. Have you heard anything today? Have you this, that, and the other? And she was diligent calling these people and diligent in those 2 visits a month to go see Rob, and her children diligent in making sure that they knew that their father was going to be in the home by just putting up a poster of him in the home so he maintained being there. I was so excited at the end when you were able to come out, and y'all, they show some serious stuff at the end too. But anyway, now you're doing time 2, which is unfinished business. How is that going to take us? What is that taking us into?
If time one was the call, if time one was the cry, because everybody saw me crying in time one, it was such it caught me in such in the lowest place on my journey. We were at the tail end, and I was struggling just to hold on to life itself, Bunny. And so, if time one was the cry, time two is the call. It's the call to action, and that's why we're doing the first ever release of this kind, where we are launching this film as a campaign itself for the people, by the people. On this Juneteenth, we are looking to center the conversation of freedom on this Juneteenth with the Time to Watch Juneteenth campaign for freedom, where we will release the film, have a national watch party that will galvanize over 1 million people together on the same day, bearing witness to the same truth at the same time, whether it's live here in New Orleans, where the live presentation will be held, or whether it's a watch party that one of your guests decides to host in their particular city, in their particular home. We are challenging people on this Juneteenth with the release of this sequel documentary to turn their home, to build freedom circles and turn their homes into freedom centers, where
Mhm.
we can really begin to talk about freedom for our people on this Juneteenth.
Now
It's more than a movie. It's a movement, Miss Bonnie.
you see now, y'all, you see how Fox just is it just I'm telling you, this woman does not stop. You talking about tears. Now she has some looks on her face. She has some mama looks on her face, Rob, during some of this. But you know, when the tears, I just I saw determination on your face during the first one. And so with this one, Rob, what is it following? What is the premise of, time to unfinished business?
Well, time to unfinished business is twofold. It is is personally the unfinished business as far as our family's personal matter was concerned. Because when I went into that bank, I didn't go into the bank alone. I went into the bank with my nephew, and unfortunately, when I came home on clemency in 2018, he was not afforded the same opportunity. So in therein is the mission in time too, and that is the work that we picked up with the moment that I came home. Because after leaving prison after 21 years of incarceration, the one thing that we knew, if we didn't know anything else, we knew that to be free was to free others. And so not only my nephew, but we strive to free a whole lot of other people. Because when you do that kind of time around people, Ms. Bonnie, I know people in prison on different levels, deeper levels even than the people that I share blood with. You know, how close and bonded we are to one another has a lot to do with what have we experienced together. And when you've experienced as long of a suffering experience as me and many of the men that I've been around in prison, you come home feeling some sense of responsibility to give to them what has been so graciously given to you. And that is the opportunity at freedom. That is the opportunity for them to return back home to their family. So what our viewers will see in time to unfinished business is what Fox and I actually did with the freedom that was given to us. Sure, we could have came home and forgot all about what we left behind. We could have came home and went off and ran into the sunset, because God knows Amazon in that first documentary, the way they paid us for it, we sure could have went off and went on our own and forgot that any of this stuff had ever happened to us. But it was bigger than the money for us, Miss Bonnie. It was about the liberation of those that were left behind. So that is the unfinished business as it relates to our family. But when you think about the fact that the 13th Amendment is what held me and all of those other men that were incarcerated with me, and the 2.3 million people that are incarcerated in prisons all across this country, it is the 13th Amendment that even allows that to happen. So it is a way that slavery has been sanctioned and legalized in our country if you be duly convicted of a crime. So with that being said, we have over 400 years of unfinished business that has not been met when it comes to the conversation of freedom and liberation for our people. So what we are employing people to do this Juneteenth is not talk about freedom in a way that speaks of it in the past, the way that we typically do when the month of February comes around, or when the weekend of Juneteenth pops up. We have a tendency to talk about those moments as if though something that happened maybe 3, 4, 500 years ago. But what about the enslavement of our people that is happening now through the legalization of the 13th Amendment that allows for this type of behavior? But for those 2.3 million people, we want to focus the attention on that unfinished business and the unfinished business of the exception clause that exists in our 13th Amendment. This is not in any way saying that we're supposed to dump our prisons out and run all these people back into society. What we're saying is that prison has a purpose and it's not enslavement. Prison is about correction. Prison is about rehabilitation and ultimately returning those rehabilitated men and women back to our society as fully functioning citizens.
Well, you know what I really liked about time one and what we're seeing here in time two is that you did not downplay what you did.
That's right.
You didn't downplay at all what you did. The unjust part was the sentence that you got for what you did.
That's
And
right.
that's with a lot of men and women in prison now. They go for one thing, and it could be the very first thing they ever did. They didn't shoot anybody, they didn't kill anybody or anything like that, but they're in for life. or they're in for extended sentences, when in fact, if they were someone else, they may have gotten off a lot,
That's right.
with a lot less sentence. So what I'm gathering is you guys are working toward helping these people who should be eligible to have a lesser sentence, um, get their right to have a lesser sentence. And not only that, if you're in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, if they're in there, to have a chance to be rehabilitated. So when you
That's
come
right.
out, if there's something that you can do, am I right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And even I'll take it even one step further, Ms. Bonnie. It's not even them being able to have a privilege, but having the right to fundamental fairness in our criminal justice system. When I was facing the sanctions for my transgressions, I was facing 5 to 99 years for armed robbery. But as a first offender, a judge and a district attorney's office saw fit to give me, as a first offender, a 60-year sentence, my nephew a 45-year sentence, and my wife a 19-year sentence, not even for dropping us off at the bank, but for dropping us off around the corner from the bank. They offered her a 40-year plea bargain and she ultimately landed with a 19-year sentence as a result of being what some might even call a getaway driver, but that part never happened. There was no getaway that ever took place in this process. But how is it that we could sidestep and say that these three individuals, two
Are the
college
worst of the
educated
worst.
individuals, another young man who had been raised by his mom and his dad, a man whose father has spent his entire life in service to this country, and you saw fit to give us 1945 and 61 years respectively for the crimes that happened on that day. It just was totally out of order. And those are the things that we fight back to, because if 5 to 99, if 5 was the minimum, how then did I get all the way to being the person that deserved the 60-year sentence? Even when the people who I robbed on that day said that they didn't think that nothing should have happened beyond 10 years as it related to sanctions for me and my acts on that day. So you sidestep what it is that victims in the case themselves are saying, and then decide to issue
A
1945
practical
and
life
60-year
sentence.
sentences in these cases. And like I said, it makes us have to look deeper and say, well, what is this all about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Fox, you were able to spend only what, 3.5 years?
I got a plea deal. I took a plea deal that ran all of my sentences together, and so of that, the highest sentence was 7 years. 2 7-year sentence, 1 5-year sentence, all run together. And so I served 3.5 of that, and then came home and did the other 3.5 years on parole, and then would spend the next 20 years almost fighting for Rob's release.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it is just when you bear witness to something like that, it changes you forever. And it either changes you to give God the glory and turn that tremendous test into a testament, or it will destroy you.
Yeah, and the families of these men and women that are incarcerated, um, I saw how you, Fox, were keeping your boys, and especially you had boys, you had men, okay, that you had to keep together. And I just thought about the other families and mothers who, like, when you were gone, your mother had to take care of the boys, and when you came back, you went in full force. But the other families of incarcerated men and women, that it affects everybody,
Mhm.
the community, the family, everybody. And not,
Everybody.
and not everybody has the strength you had to keep them together.
Mhm.
Rob, when you saw it from the other side, what was going on, to that she was trying to keep everything, strong and everything, what was your mindset?
Mhm. I think in those moments, because prison has a way of blocking you off from everything that is happening outside of it. And that being said, I could hear tell of all of the phone calls that Fox had made to lawyers and members of the clergy, lawmakers, judges, district attorneys, and the likes. She would come, and of course, she would come and report who she spoke to, what they spoke about, and all those things. But it's something about it reminds me of a poem I heard once that says that your heart knows the secrets of your days and nights, but your ears thirst for in words the knowledge of your heart. Well, it not only applies to the ears, but it also applies to the eyes. What the eyes, ears, and so forth of man can hear and see is typically what we believe and how, and it dictates how we respond and how we react to it. It wasn't until after I came home and actually watched Time, the documentary, that I fell to pieces, because it was in that moment that everything she had ever told me, everything that she had ever said to me, every meeting that she had ever encountered, it became so real to me in that moment, because it was for the first time that I could see it with my own eyes, because she had managed to capture it in film. And that was, really that moment for me where I was like, wow, this woman is truly amazing. I knew she was amazing because she kept popping up. They kept calling my name and they was like, look, Richardson, you got to visit. And I would go up there and then it's her. And then a year later, it would be the same thing. 5 years later, it was the same. 10 years later, it was the same. 20 years later, it was still the same thing. And I was like, man, this woman has got to be out of her mind. She is continuing to hold on to me. She is continuing to fight for me. She's continuing to hold on to our family and continuing to hold on to the ideas of marriage and the ideas of what God intends when He brings two together in love. And that was just really an amazing moment for me. And seeing it, like I say, play out in film, every time that I see the film, it makes me fall deeper and deeper in love with this woman. And I didn't even think that I could fall any deeper in love with her than I already was. But I tell you, every time that this film screens, every time that somebody talks about this film, every time that I hear tell of this film, it again, like I said, reminds me of the conviction and the devotion that this lady has given to me, and the favor that God has given in the fact that He's even given a woman to me like this. And so it's always been my wish, Miss Bonnie, that I could clone her, of course, keep the original for myself, and then I would give out other ones to other deserving men out there that would deserve a wife like Fox.
Oh, see, look at her. And she just blushing. She Now, Fox, tell everybody how we can see Time to Unfinished Business on Juneteenth. How do we get to see it?
You will be able to go and register for this Juneteenth campaign known as the Time to Watch, a Juneteenth campaign for freedom at time2movie.com/watch time. There you can see the first time. If you have not, you can watch it for free on Amazon Prime Video. And then you can register as of next week to be a part of the actual campaign. And we take it a step further, Ms. Bonnie, and ask your viewers to not just sign up and be a part of this campaign that would allow you to own Time to in perpetuity. You know, we don't own anything these days. So to be able, when you support this project, when you support this campaign, you get this film for life. In addition to that, you will get a copy of the public law that made Juneteenth a federal holiday. We need our freedom papers in front of us. You will also get a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation so that we can put both of those freedom documents right on either side of that Lord's Supper we got up in our house somewhere. You know what I'm talking about, Miss Bunny.
No.
And then, in addition to that, you will receive a guidebook on what you need to know to understand how to fight for your loved ones, as well as how to even begin to get involved if you want to make a difference as it pertains to our own liberation as a people. So that is all of what you get when you register for this campaign for $24.99. And when you register for this campaign, we're going to take $1 of every one of those registrations, and we are going to donate it to the Amistad Research Center, which is the largest, oldest, most comprehensive, independent collection of Black archive in America, to make sure that we can help it in reaching its budget shortfall after the loss of their federal funds. And when we watch Donald Trump remove items from the Black Smithsonian, then we understand that we have a duty to preserve our own history. So We are experiencing on Juneteenth here in New Orleans and across the nation through this national watch party. 1 million people watching together at the same time, bearing witness to the same truth. This is more than a movie, Miss Bonnie. It is a movement.
Yeah, see, y'all, you get that? You get that? She has that energy, that drive that just makes you want to do everything. One more time, where can people go? Is there a website or whatever that
It's
they can go
time.
to find out?
Yes, it is time, TIME, 2 TWO movie.com/watch time. And they can check us out on all social media. We are Fox and Rob on all social media. So you can feel free to get the link right there on our social media page. It's my directorial debut, and I am hoping that you'll come on down here to New Orleans and walk the red carpet with us, Miss Bonnie, and let's celebrate freedom and Juneteenth like we ain't never celebrated before.
Let freedom ring.
And I love me some New Orleans because I eat my way through New Orleans every time I come.
Yes.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank
And I'm
you.
appreciating that you put it on film so people can see it and they can realize that there is a chance for them and their families. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.